Stay tuned for today's episode of Breaking the Biz, an informative podcast where we dive into the world of entertainment by interviewing seasoned professionals who have made their mark in the industry. Gain invaluable insights as they share their personal journeys, offering advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the entertainment industry. Whether you're an aspiring actor, musician, filmmaker, author, animator, or any creative soul, tune in for expert career guidance, insider tips, and first-hand accounts on breaking into the entertainment industry. Get ready to unlock the secrets behind successful careers and fuel your own passion for the limelight. Please remember to like this video and to subscribe to our channels for more great conversations.
Greetings from Breaking the Biz, brought to you by Yes I Can Unity Through Music and Education. I'm William Felber, your navigator through the intriguing universe of the entertainment industry, as revealed by the visionaries and creators who bring it to life. Stay tuned as we delve into diverse insights from the forefront of entertainment, hearing from pioneers, creators, and agents of change. Prepare for a journey filled with tales of innovation, resilience, and the undying quest for artistic brilliance.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Breaking the Biz podcast. We have a great guest with us. We have Marc Andrew Sánchez, who hails from Arizona, growing up on the border, profoundly influenced by his perspectives, straddling the culture divide as a Mexican-American. He graduated from UCLA with a master's in fine arts, focus in animation and production, under the mentorship of animation luminaries like Charles Sheetz, Kirkland, Ehasz, and Jorge Gutierrez, also acclaimed for their Emmy and other prestigious awards. Marc's artistic journey blossomed. Distinguished as the first ever animation directing student nationwide to be a recipient of the National Hispanic Foundations for the Arts Grant in 2020, established by Jimmy Smits. Marc is driven by a passion to empower young adults by addressing their past traumas through his storytelling. With a vision to connect with the Latino community, Marc draws from his upbringing and previous experience as a high school educator to infuse authenticity into his narratives, aspiring to ignite the imaginations of future generations. Marc is also the first to teach Latin animation history at UCLA in the Chicana and Central American Studies program, and is also an instructor at Exceptional Minds, an animation school for students on the Autism Spectrum. Identifying as an artist and writer under the moniker Give Me Mas, Marc aims to broaden the audience appreciation for Latin anime, weaving cultural richness into his creations. Marc, I want to thank you so much for making time. I know you are extremely busy, so thank you.
No problem. Good thing you got me ahead of time, like 3 months or 3 months ago. Yeah. So it's good. I was like, oh man, I'm waiting it out. Oh, here it is. It's finally here.
I love it. Absolutely. So I want to know, what are some of the factors that kind of influenced you into your early career choices?
I think for me, it was just growing up where I was in Yuma, Arizona. You know, it's very hot. And so a lot of us stay inside during the day, especially during the summers. And so everyone just watches cartoons, right? So that's what I did. I watched cartoons. I really enjoyed like watching Cartoon Network. And then slowly, as I grew up, my family, you know, my mom and my dad divorced. And so I was always with my mom on the go with me and my sister. So we never got home until maybe 9. We left around 6 in the morning and then didn't get back home till 9. And at 9, that's like when Adult Swim would play. And a lot of the anime content was coming on at that time. So I got really influenced by like Cowboy Bebop and Inuyasha, and then Toonami, obviously, with Naruto and everything. And so from there, that's kind of how I started developing my skills and kind of my interest of like, this is what I think I want to do, you know? So it was great. And that's basically how I started wanting to get into this field.
Okay.
Of interest.
I want to ask you, when you were in school, were you the student who just was drawing all through class and just like killing it with illustrations? Did you know you had that artistic talent very early?
Yeah, so I was always drawing on the side of my my notebooks constantly because I do have ADHD. I was recently diagnosed probably maybe like 2 years ago. And that was something that they said, like people with ADHD, especially like visual ADHD, which is what I have. Um, we have to be constantly like looking around, seeing new things to kind of get us going. And we can't really stay in one spot too long. We get bored really easily. So for me, that was what drawing on the side was doing. And my teachers would get mad at me because like, are you even paying attention? And that I recite exactly what they say. And I'm like, yeah, I'm paying attention. I'm just drawing at the same time. So I was definitely that kid. Even into my master's program in undergrad, like I was always just drawing even while instructors were talking.
Let me ask you this. When you're drawing, does that help your brain focus in listening?
100%. Because what I usually do is I'll repeat everything that's being said in my mind as I'm drawing. And so I'm visually stimulated, and then I'm also cognitively aware that I have to like focus up and retain the information. And luckily for me, that's helped me a lot because I can remember dates, facts really fast, really easily. It's like a little superpower I have. And my sister always gets mad at me because she has to spend like 10 hours studying, where me, I can spend an hour or 20 minutes and I got it.
This is the beauty of having just a different brain, you know, like there's someone would say, well, ADHD, that's, you know, a disability. But again, it's just a proof of concept that there are so many unique abilities that come with any disability, quote unquote, disability. Being able to remember facts and playing that information in your brain at the same time, stimulating another part of your brain. It's almost like you're getting both parts of the brain, where some of us only have, you know, really excel on, you know, either side of the brain.
100%.
I love it. So when you're in high school, I imagine you take art classes. Did you just kick butt in high school in art?
So that's actually a funny story. So when I was in middle school, I was drawing anime and, you know, cartoons. And at that point in our cultural diaspora, if you drew anime, you were considered like a weirdo or nerd. So I kind of switched over to graffiti, and because everyone thought graffiti was cool, right? So I had graffiti shoes, like graffiti backpacks. And my first year, I took AP art because they just thought I had the capability. I took it, didn't end up taking the AP class, but I didn't take art actually again until my senior year because I started playing football. So I became a jock that was secretly like this anime nerd slash artist. So when someone found out like could draw on shoes or paint, everyone was like, "What the heck?" I could even knit. I could knit like beanies and toys. I knew how to sew like little figurines. Like I'm really good and crafty with my hands. I can even make clothes. So that was something I kept to the side, and no one really knew unless I was trying to impress someone. Usually it was a girl. So I'd be like, "Oh, I can make you a beanie," and so I'd make a beanie for them. And when I started taking art again, my senior year was like ceramics. And honestly, I hated ceramics because I was just dumb. Like, it's like, oh, it's like, what's it called? There's no meaning to it, reason or rhyme. There's no functionality to it other than like, you know, you had kids being weird and like creating weird things. So I was like, I'm just going to take it just to fulfill a requirement. Right. And then I was like, you know what? I'm better at art. So I switched out of AP ceramics to AP art again, studio art. And I took the test. I only got a 3, so it really didn't do anything for me. But I just took the art class. And then after that, I was able to win a bunch of awards for my school. I think I won maybe like $10,000 in like funds for the art class. And I got like 10% of that, which was awesome. And the rest of it went to the art club and the art class for, you know, paints and stuff. And it was really a blessing because the teacher, Miss H, she was super gracious that happened. And she basically let me take as many art supplies as I wanted. I still use those art supplies until undergrad because I was super poor in undergrad. So I was like, art supplies are super expensive. So I like saved every ounce of paint in like paintbrushes all the way to the end of my undergrad. And so that's basically how I moved through the space in high school, at least.
Okay, so let's talk about the transition to college. Do you get a scholarship off of your artistic abilities?
So yes, I got a couple scholarships for my artistic abilities, and then I got a lot of academic scholarships for school. I wanted to continue and play football, but I wasn't the size that I needed to be an offensive lineman for a D1 school. So I ended up playing rugby. And then I got into school. I studied architecture my first year because my dad was like, "It's safer. You'll have a job. Don't do art," kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, I'll do architecture, which it's funny because I'm actually doing architecture now for the projects I'm working on. I'm actually designing and building like the layouts for then my world builder to take it. And she's an actual architect trained professionally, to basically go and have fun with it. So it's great because like I understand it. I know how it works. Do I like doing it? No, I'll have someone else do it for me, but I can tell them what I want and show them exactly what I want.
Okay. So talk me through college. What was the biggest lesson learned in college in art?
In art?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I realized my senior year, I felt like I was the top dog of the school, right? And so I was gracious enough to have a job at the school that was through one of the centers. It was the Guerrero Student Center at U of A. And this program that was part of, right? There's other centers and they have someone like me for every center. They allocated like, I think $750 to send you to wherever you want. And for me, I wanted to come to LA to CTNX 2017. So this is when CTNX was huge. Not like how it is now. You can just walk in. Now, back then I waited like 2 hours to get in. And when I showed up, I was like, oh man, I am nowhere where I need to be. And it was a lesson for me because I was partying, I was having fun with friends. I was enjoying the more like relationship building and like life lessons that undergrad had to give than focusing on art, right? Because I thought I was a big shot there. And so I realized coming over here, I was like, man, I'm a big fish in a small pond and I have to work my tail off. I felt very what's it called? What's the word? I felt inadequate. I felt like I wasn't ready, right? And so when I got back, I was telling everyone like, hey, I'm just going to join the military. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. All my friends were officers, had just graduated ROTC, and I trained with all of them. So I was like, this is easy. Like waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning is nothing to me. I still wake up at 4:30 every morning to go to the gym. So tried to do officer candidate school. And one of my mentors was like, hey, why don't you just go back home, work on your portfolio now that you have time and just get a job, right? And so I ended up taking that to heart, and I did. So I went back home and I taught art and world history at one of the schools in my hometown. And while I was doing that, I was also coaching football. I was a varsity football coach. I coached linemen and defensive linemen, plus I was the weightlifting coach. And then every night I would just get home for about 2 or 3 hours, for about 1 to 2 hours. I'd just be drawing or painting, just trying to improve my skills, trying to put together a portfolio that could get me into a school that would get me to where I need to get to.
Okay. So after and I love the fact that everything that you love, you still do. Like the football, the weightlifting, the teaching and paying it forward that way. And what's the best part is it's very easy to get lazy, come home, be tired, and just veg. And you kind of mentioned you did the partying, you did that social, all those things that you kind of learned in college. You knocked that out, and you were able to come home, focus, and work on your craft. 1, 2, 3 hours a night till the portfolio is done. When did you realize that the portfolio was what you needed to get you into the next step?
That's hard because I think it was when I completed. So originally I was going to apply to CalArts for their character animation program. And so they require a book, right? They require a sketchbook that you turn in. And so my goal was like, this is going to be the first sketchbook I actually finish completely with full illustrations, full like studies. And so for me it was like, once I get this done, that's when I'll apply. And it was funny because like I said, like every night I'd be working and my best friend would call me and he's on deployment or he's like getting ready to go party with his shipmates as an officer. And he's like, hey, why aren't you drinking? Or why aren't you hanging out or doing something? I was like, dude, it's because I need to work on this. He's like, dang, it makes a huge difference when we're not there. We're not pushing shots in your face to basically be like, come on, let's go out. I'm like, yeah, dude, it makes a huge difference. And so once I got that done, I had some illustrations, bigger illustrations, right, that I'd done. And I ventured out to UCLA because I found out that UCLA had a master's program. And I ventured out to CalArts and USC. My best friend drove me down, actually spring break, what's it called? The year after I was about to graduate, that spring break, while my friends went to Puerto Peñasco, I went to LA for the first time with my mom to visit CalArts and UCLA. And from there, I realized what I needed to do. So I started working. And it wasn't until my second year of teaching, my last year, where I applied. And what sucked was I applied. I only applied to UCLA because CalArts, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It was like bunch of really posh art kids, and even like the counselors felt like that. They were like too good, too cool. And so I was like, you know what, maybe not. I went to UCLA and fell in love with it because it's a pack. Well, at that time it was Pac-12, D1. Still had the college vibe. So I was like, I'm very much an extrovert, and so I need extrovert people, not just introverted artists. And so what ended up happening is I applied. And I got put on the wait list, which sucked. It was like this big hit to my soul. I was like, damn, I'm not good enough to even, I got waitlisted. I'm not that good yet. So, and so for me, like I put my trust in, my higher power, whatever I believe in. And just kept saying like, okay, if this is going to happen, like I'm just going to spend my time while I'm here back in Yuma to do the best I can and put my foot forward with my students, helping all my football boys, and just continue my craft, right? Maybe next year. And so around July, I was going to Big Five to go pick up cleats for one of my football boys because he didn't have cleats. And so I told him like, hey, I'll get you some cleats because, I like doing that. I love doing that for my boys. And I got an email from UCLA saying like, hey, you've been accepted. You got taken off the wait list. I was accepted. And it was like this huge like relief. It was super exciting. And then at that time, I didn't realize how big it was to get into UCLA. I didn't realize there was like the number one school. I was just thought it's a university. And then like everyone was like, what the heck, you got into UCLA? And I'm like, yeah, what's the deal? To me, it was like I didn't realize it until people were like, holy shit, you got into UCLA. Because it's like number one public school, and it's just, there's all this stuff behind it. So it was really cool for that to happen.
Love it. So you graduate UCLA. With UCLA, do you have to have a additional portfolio? So once you graduate UCLA for applying for work, at that time at UCLA, did you realize storyboarding and directing is the direction you wanted to go? How did you kind of fine tune that element?
Yeah, so for me, it was I had a friend who graduated 2 years before me. It's crazy. That's the reason why I went to UCLA, because I came and visited the workshop and I saw this guy from North Carolina sitting there just drawing away. And he was pretty built, like he looked like he played sports, and he had like a little container of broccoli, chicken, and rice. And at that time, that's all I ate, just constant broccoli, chicken, and rice, because obviously like bodybuilding and just like lifting and taking care of your body, right? I still do it. And I was like, hey, dude, is that broccoli, chicken, and brown rice? He's like, yeah, dude, like, of course, got to keep the gains. And so he was like, yeah, I'm doing storyboarding, but I'm finishing up my second year film, even though I'm in my third year. And I was like, oh my God. And so from there, me and him just kept in touch. Me and him meet every year, probably like 3 times or 4 times a year. And then like our get together parties. And he kind of guided me in the way of like doing storyboarding, because I can do everything. I can draw, I can character design. I hate doing backgrounds. Can I do backgrounds? Yes, but I hate doing backgrounds. I can't sit there doing the same thing for like 5 hours. So storyboarding and animating was where it was fun for me, because it's like something new. It's like every 5 minutes or every minute, I'm like doing something different, changing a position, moving the character. And I really enjoyed that aspect. And for me, it was combining all of that, where it's like, oh, I can do everything, and that would lead me to be a director. But I know storyboarding is what gets you there. So I knew that if I had a strong portfolio in character design, background design, but storyboarding is what I focused on, that would follow me and be like, oh, this guy actually has a style. Not only is he good at directing.
I love how you use all of the wheelhouse, all of the skills. You can do background, but from experience, that's not exactly what you want to do. I imagine with the powers that come with that super visual ADHD, being able to change, and every few minutes changing where the direction and the different characters, that obviously plays better to your skill set, to your brain. I love the self-awareness of where you know what you need to get in, but like having your own style is what's going to set you apart. So I love that. Does UCLA help you get your first job in animation? What was the first job as far as animation goes, storyboarding, directing?
So it was interesting because I I think every school is different, right? It's like you can do like a school can have a name, right? You can go to Cal Arts, but if you don't put the effort, like you're not going to go anywhere, especially when it comes to connecting or networking, right? I think the same can be said about UCLA. Unfortunately, they don't have the same connections that they used to. However, if you work your tail off and are doing stuff nonstop, people notice it. And not only that, they'll notice it in your films. So for me, the thing I made very clear is like I wanted to have 3 pitch books completely done by the time I was done, and then 3 short films made. Did 2 10-minute short films. My first year one was about my teaching experience. It was like a comedy short. Second year, I was like, man, lip syncing and drawing by hand sucks. So no lip syncing, no sound, only music, and letting the environments do the work. So I made my second year film, which was Sombras. It's a immigrant story told through the eyes of the shadowless figures. And that one is what kind of got me a lot of attention. I toured around everywhere with it. I went to some big festivals. I got a bunch of awards for it. And that opened up the door for me to become a director for Ad Astra Steam Media. I was in Austin at a smaller, I got invited to go to UT Austin to present at their BIPOC animation lab, which was the first one they've ever done. It's now gotten bigger. It coincides with South by Southwest. And so there I met CEO Dr. Jose More. And from there, he kind of was like, hey, I want to sit with you and talk to you and chat about your film. We met. I kind of told him some ideas that I had, and he told me some of his ideas. And granted, this is all still in my undergrad, right? My master's. I haven't finished yet. And so he licensed, and his company at Astra licensed and bought Sombras. So it's currently in distribution. I have a distribution deal. It just got on a couple streaming services, which is great because they're thinking about buying it. And if they buy it, I'm going to get a huge payout, which is great. So it's double, or I think like 6 times what I put into it for money, and I got it back, right? And so from there, he asked me, hey, like, I'm new to the animation field. Like, we've been just doing books and stuff and like doing 3D and whatever. I need someone who actually knows it and can understand it from the artist's perspective. Do you want to join my team, like part-time, right, as a director and a storyboard artist leading our 2D and 3D projects? And I was like, yeah. So that's how I got my first directing gig, through them. And then slowly, I was without a job for a year as well before I got my job that pays, which is teaching. But I was doing freelance. Like I said, I worked with South Park guys on a nonprofit short animated film. I storyboarded the entire thing. And then I started getting hired by different directors, smaller directors, to do art direction and then storyboarding for their ideas, their animations. And so basically that led to everything else and to where I am now, which is leading a full-on team, which is super exciting, which sucks because one of my writers just had to quit just because of situations of life. So I'm like, damn, it was a shot in my heart. So I was like, dang it.
Got it. So how many people do you have in your team underneath you?
I have about 8. And a couple of them are writers that have written industry. A couple of them are set designers and product, or what's it called? Product. What's the word? They're designers for film. My creative producer was one, production designer. There you go. They're the ones that help build the sets for like live action films. She's my architect. She's the world builder for me. So we all have a different role in the team. And so they're all super awesome. I think one of the ones that's really cool is Manny Nieto. I met him when I interviewed Jorge Gutierrez at Netflix my first year in 2019. And we just kept the relationship, kept talking. And now he's my story editor. And he's worked on Coco Melon. He's worked on Elena Avalor, Owl House, Blue-Eyed Samurai, Maya and the Three. And so now he's able to give back and work with me and be part of my team, which is super exciting.
I love it. So talking about giving back, obviously in the education realm, you find young talent and you foster that, and you're a mentor also as a teacher. Who are your biggest mentors?
I think outside of like the industry, Jorge Gutierrez. Well, in the industry, it's Jorge Gutierrez. We meet every other month, and he basically sits down, checks up on me, asks what I'm doing, gives me advice. I'll ask him for advice on my creations, where I'm at. It's actually really cool because like we have the relationship where he just sent me, I think like probably a month ago, he sent me the short he did for The Simpsons, for the Hollywood or for the horror Treehouse of Horror. This coming year, no one's seen it. Only the people he's like allowed to see it, right? So it was super cool seeing that all animated, which was really cool. And then there's Ehasz as well. He was the head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender and is the creator of The Dragon Prince on Netflix. He's super cool because he has more of the business mindset. He was a writer and then went to, I think, Harvard or Stanford. One of those. He went to one for the undergrad and then one for his master's for business. And that's how he got business savvy about how to lead a team and run a company. And so he kind of mentors me on like how to lead a writing team and then the business aspect of it, what to look for, how to market stuff, how to sell stuff. Because that's something he learned while he was on Avatar: The Last Airbender and why it almost got canceled, right? Because of the toy sales and all this other stuff, right? So those two are my biggest, what's it called?
Mentors?
Within the industry, mentors, right? And then outside are individuals back home, right? Like one of my, what I consider my pseudo grandfather, Pastor Ralph, and then my pseudo father, which is Mr. Juan Bosco. And they're all super awesome people that just helped me throughout my life growing up.
I love it. Jorge Gutierrez is scheduled to be a guest speaker later next month.
Awesome.
But what an amazing individual, very positive.
Yeah, he's always
super creative, just like yourself, and just you could just tell a great human being. But I love how he's just very upfront. Like, you know, I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm able to tap into both sides of my brain. Both you and him, the self-awareness, it just shows how self-awareness is such a needed skill for success. Understanding how you learn, how you work, when's the best time to work, when's the, you know, how to collaborate. So it definitely stands out to me. I want to ask you, you mentioned networking. Obviously, college is a great opportunity to network. And when you're in these classes with individuals like yourself who are talented, you never know who's going to become a boss, who's going to throw out an olive branch and open a door for you. How important has networking been for your success in this industry?
Super huge. That's like that's my superpower, thankfully, because I'm such an extrovert and I believe in my talent as an artist. Like I'm decent, right? I'm not like amazing, but I know I'm good. I'm being humble, but you know, it helps because like I think the one thing is like just being able to talk to people and connect with people, being genuine is like the huge thing. I always say it's like, don't ask people about their art. Don't ask about trying to get a job. Just ask who they are. Just be friendly and nice. There's that one thing that says like, be friendly instead of like hunting for a job. Because if you're willing to do stuff and just be out there and help people, like that will come back to you tenfold in the future, right? It'll take you longer, but once you get there, you're gonna shoot up like crazy. And thankfully that's happened to me, right? With the opportunities that have been blessed to me. So yeah, like networking super huge. And I know it's sometimes hard because like I noticed some of like my classmates, right? They were animators, but they were super introverts, like crazy introverts. And I think a lot of animators and storyboard artists in general are super introverted. So it's like learning how to break out of your comfort zone and just talk. Because like the more you talk to people and get to know people, the more doors open up, the more opportunities open up for you.
I love that. And I'm sure, like, you know, having those 8 people that work underneath you, the fact that you're so approachable, you know, you can talk to anyone, you are extroverted. I imagine that helps with running a team and collaborating with others. And when you have to give constructive criticism to your team, so it's the style or the art that you want.
100%. And even I get criticism when it comes to writing. That's something I am as an artist is learning how to listen and giving the space for my team to come up with ideas, because sometimes my ideas might be good, but sometimes they might have something better, right? And my producer, who is also my partner, she's very good about, talking about that and explaining that, which I appreciate her for being my second in command and helping me lead the team.
It's always great. We talk about the importance of collaboration and putting together your team and finding people who don't necessarily have the same skill sets that you have, but individuals who bring something to the table to offset maybe the things that you're not the best at. And it's important to have a very well-rounded team with very diverse team with skill sets. Would you say that's important in the industry?
100%. I just got done leading a team for my creative producer, because she's also a director. For her thesis for her master's, she decided, she's live action, right? But she decided to do animation because she likes the weird and wacky and mixed media. Live action is super expensive, unfortunately, but she's always loved animation, so she wanted to get into it. And so I built a team, or helped her build a team of artists, storyboard artists, to basically create her vision, which is super fun. And I could say this, like, us three storyboard artists were very different. I had a very action-heavy anime influence with world building. Our other storyboard artist was very good at acting, character acting. You could tell like every character had more emotion, more movement. And then our other individual who graduated from CalArts, she was very good at the more timing of the aspects of when to hit certain moments within the storyboarding. And all that mixed really well to come up with a really good story for her thesis. So it's super important. And then even for writing, my team is super knowledgeable. One of my individuals, she's really good at asking the hard questions, trying to break down, do we need this? Can we simplify it, right? How can we make it better? And she's also good at writing for character moments. Our other writer is very good at researching and finding knowledge and data and bringing it into the story to make it make sense and how it would be in real life, or how we could make a historical fiction, And then my current writer who just left, he was really good at the world building, like setting up the scenes, setting up the exterior, bringing in that sense of environment and ambiance to sell where the characters are at. And so it's super important to find individuals that all can complement your story and complement your needs.
I love it. Let me ask you, we talk about you when you put 10,000 hours into your craft, you become a master. Are you at that point where you've put in, I know you're humble, but I'm guessing you're close or more than 10,000 hours into your craft?
Maybe, I don't know. I always tell like I'm still learning. I think in certain aspects, maybe, but in certain aspects, I'm still learning a lot. So I think maybe for like, I would say illustration art and more comic art, I would say I'm there at 10,000, but storyboarding, I'm still learning. Writing definitely. Writing super hard. Writing so hard. But the great thing about writing is like, you just got to do it. And I also read a lot. So I'm reading, books, mangas, how to write books, that's all been super important for me, especially when you're trying to come up with new stories, right? I always tell everyone, don't read what's being sold right now or what's on the media right now. Read old books. Like I always go back to like C.S. Lewis, John Steinbeck, Ray Bradbury. I love Ray Bradbury. And then recently I started reading B. Travern. He's like the Mexican John Steinbeck. And so like all these people have just been influencing my writing style and how to come up with new ideas, new ways. And also finding just random books in a bookstore. Like I love going to the Last Bookshop in downtown. And I'll always just pick up a random book and just read whatever stories like pique my interest. Like I got an American folklore book because I love folklore, but it's geared only on American folklore. So like Johnny Appleseed, but like ones you've never heard of. And so for me, it's always fun, like finding new hidden treasures.
So you can tap into your culture, you can tap into experiences that obviously got your foot in the door, but you can find inspiration anywhere.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was just reading something. It's a Latino-based book, but a lot of the stories do come from Spain. I can tell because they have the more traditional European, like Brothers Grimm way of storytelling. And so I'm like, oh, these are really cool because like king and queen, how can I like change it up, So it's very important, especially like I have an Afro American stories from like the 800, and I love reading those because a lot of those accounts are super sad. So it brings ideas for like how to create a character's backstory or even bring in the emotion in certain moments within the story.
Okay, love it. What are some dream projects? If there were, if you could work for any franchise, brand, studio, are there some dream projects that you want to work on?
Yeah, I would love to work with Jorge, obviously, as one of the storyboard artists, or even just an assistant. I know he might be doing something with Nickelodeon for El Tigre. He has some stuff at Netflix, even though he just left. So working for him would be super awesome. Working or writing for like manga, right? I think is super awesome. Powerhouse Studios also a super cool place. Honestly, it's more like the indie stuff, just because that's where the space is going. Fortunately and unfortunately, right? The studios are kind of just backing off because they're scared, or money, whole AI thing. And, people like me and Jorge and other individuals that are able to find people who believe in them are starting to do their indie projects, right? Like one of the individuals that graduated from my school, his name is Greg. He animated on a bunch of really awesome anime from Japan. He did Cyberpunk Edge Runners for Netflix. He worked on Boku no Ranking or Ranking of Kings, which is a super popular one. He worked on Spy Family. Me and him sat down with my CEO, and he gave us a lot of information when it comes to outsourcing in Japan. And it's just super cool, like all these connections of like what is possible now because of globalization.
It's awesome. Talk about AI. Do you feel AI will interfere with storyboard artists?
I think it will, but I also think the storyboard artists that learn how to use it to kind of get ideas right will be the ones that succeed. Because for me, right, I use Shot Deck, which my girlfriend has access to, which is a live action library of like shots from movies, right? And so I can be like, hey, I'll type in a bar scene, okay, interior, table, lighting pink, and it will give me a bunch of shots from different movies, right? So likewise, you could do the same thing for AI, like ask them like, hey, can you give me the shot? So you have reference to be like, okay, I like this, but I don't like all of it. Let me change some stuff, right? That way it makes it faster so you can be better at your craft. Not only that, now that you have reference in your mind, that's what's great about being an artist, right? If you see something so many times, you know how to draw it. You don't have to look at reference. You can just move forward.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's interesting your take on it, because I agree with you. I was listening to will.i.am talk about AI with music and composing, and he said, AI can create a song in literally 5 minutes, but in the end, you still got to put in the lyrics. You can't change cadence. And he goes, the person who learns how to control the AI in the music production and directing it, it still takes someone to orchestrate and use the AI as a tool in order to make your craft better, but
100%.
yeah, I'm just curious on your take on that.
No, and it's also going to open the doors for like indie studios, right? Like people who don't have the means, right? And can't build a whole team, right? To do it by themselves, right? And then beat the big studios, right? I know a lot of people are scared of it, but it's technology. You got to learn how to adapt. It's like the same thing I've heard like when Photoshop came out back in the 90s. Like people were freaking out like, oh my God, it's going to take over photography forever. And it hasn't. People are still using taking photos and doing all that stuff by hand. It's just the people who have been able to really learn how and hone in on it have been the ones that have been successful.
I think you're absolutely right. And, you mentioned you just got to learn it. You have to embrace it. That comes back to having a strong growth mindset, which I can tell you absolutely have. You mentioned, still being a student of life, still working on your craft, still learning. And those who have that fixed mindset can be like, oh, I'm the director at this studio. I've got, these people working with me. I've got it figured out. And those who have that strong growth mindset that are willing to learn, willing to fail, willing to practice, those are the ones that are more successful. And those are the type of individuals that are going to be hired to be part of a collaborative team. The other thing you mentioned was adaptability, being able to adapt. That's also a skill set that we teach within our program. And it's so true. The industry's changing. And you mentioned globalization. You can have people outsource, storyboarding and outsource the animation and the coloring all around the world to get the thing done by a certain time. Would you agree with that?
100%. And then that's not necessarily, well, so to go back, the creative side of storytelling and creating will never be lost. Because something I learned, right, talking to this individual, Greg, is that yes, the East can do it. They can draw, they can get it out, animate, right? They, however, and he made it very clear, lack creativity. Unfortunately, that stereotype that is very, I guess, ingrained and is actually slightly true about individuals in China and Japan, right? Is like they learn one craft and they get really good at it. And it's true because he mentioned it. That's the case. A lot of them don't know how to be creative. They just know how to draw. So that's where, individuals like us over here, or somewhere else, right, in Russia or Ukraine or Latin America, right? We have the story aspect and the creative aspect to bring to life what we want. And then we have those individuals basically just do the part that we can't do. We don't have the time for.
Okay, love it. I have a few more questions, then I'm going to turn it over to our crew here who might have a few questions. Is there a mantra that you find yourself stating daily, positive, negative, just a mantra that, self-talk that keeps you in focused?
Oh, yeah. It's something actually from college. It's WAGMI, we're all going to make it. So that's one of the cartoon shows. I put together a huge pitch book, pitch deck, everything, all the seasons complete, all the character arcs. And so that's one of the things I constantly say to myself every day. And I have even my students, like I have it right here tattooed to the point where like when I was teaching high school, a lot of my students ended up getting the same tattoo as me because they saw that I was like a very inspirational teacher, I guess. And so they'd ask me for permission. They'd be like, hey, coach or teacher, could I get this tattoo? Because, it means a lot to me as well as it means to you,
I love that. And it's very true. I've found with speaking with individuals within entertainment industry in general, the competition subsides. Like everyone's very talented. Everyone has different gifts. And if you can support someone, maybe there's going to be a project that's not right for you, but you can go, I know somebody who this is a good fit for, and open up a door for someone else, pay it forward. I just see that a lot in the entertainment industry, which is a beautiful thing. And it's great. We're all going to get there. We're all going to make it. Super positive. My last question to you before I turn it over to some of the students here is, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what's one piece of advice that you would kind of give to your younger self in all that you've experienced in life thus far?
Probably not take everything so seriously. Don't listen to people. Even though I don't, I tend not to. Sometimes I do take things pretty too hard on my own time, right? But I think too, it's like, if you really want it, you have to put in the work. And that's something I realized, once I left undergrad, just like in sports, right? Like when I was playing football, I was working out every day, trying to become a better athlete. And I'm not an athlete to say, like my sister's an athlete. She's freaking talented. But she got the short genes, I got the tall genes. I was 6'3" and just strong, but no athleticism. That's why I was a lineman. And so I think it's like same thing, mental reps, practicing constantly. Just you have to put in the work, even when you're not gonna like it, because it will get you to where you need to. And I think if I would have taken that to heart with art, right, earlier on, I think I would have been leagues ahead of where I am right now. Granted, like I love where I'm at right now. I think it's super awesome. I'm learning a lot of stuff, but that's something I'd give myself advice.
All right, Marc, I want to thank you for making time for us. I know, like I mentioned, you're extremely busy. You're leading a team, you're creating, continued success your way. I absolutely give you kudos for following your own dreams, creating your own visions, collaborating, giving back, teaching, but not only teaching, also working at Exceptional Minds with really creatives with disabilities. You definitely have good karma coming your way. I can tell from the moment we exchanged emails, you are an amazing human being and paying it forward and providing mentorship to talented individuals. I just want to thank you once again for your time and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I hope you guys have a wonderful night and enjoy. And make sure you're drawing.
There it is. Put the pen to the pad and draw along.
As we conclude another enriching episode, we hope you found inspiration in the stories shared today. Let's take a moment to honor Yes I Can's role in bringing Breaking the Biz to life. Yes I Can's commitment to empowering young people with disabilities through education, advocacy, and mentorship shines brightly, paving paths of opportunity and dialogue. This podcast celebrates the organization's dedication to nurturing talent and facilitating impactful discussions. Breaking the Biz is more than a podcast. It's a part of Yes I Can's broader mission to amplify voices, dismantle barriers, and craft a world that's more inclusive and accessible for everyone. Each episode is a chapter in our shared narrative of progress, education, and empowerment, driven by the spirit of Yes I Can. Thank you for spending your time with us on Breaking the Biz. Continue to challenge the status quo and share stories that resonate. Until our paths cross again, let's keep transforming aspirations into achievements and infuse every endeavor with optimism. Here's to advancing the landscape of the entertainment industry, one episode at a time. I'm your host, William Felber. See you next time.